Hi, I'm Khairil and Bahar. It's Wednesday Lensday. I'm supposed to be talking about anamorphics and I should have done this fucking months ago. Quite a few months ago, almost half a year ago, I started off a thing called Wednesday Lensday where I was talking about lenses that I had, the ways I'm shooting, and I started doing this series on anamorphics where I was mainly doing the SLR Magic Anamorphot, and there was supposed to be an episode where I was talking about faking anamorphic. And then I got busy, followed by lazy. I was emo for a while as well, and long story short, I never put up that other episode. Meanwhile, a lot of you have been subscribing and liking the other videos, for which I say thank you, and I'm so sorry that this took forever. And hopefully I can keep this up with a couple more Wednesday Lensday episodes, but let's move on to the thing that I was supposed to do, which is faking anamorphic. And right now is actually a pretty good time for me to talk about that because I actually had to fake anamorphic. A couple months back, I was the DOP for a short film called Delete, which is part of the James Lee's 3 Doors of Horror series, which he started last year. And this year he started that off again, and he called me up to be the DP for this director named Sidney Chan. Now, as I talked to the director, we spoke about possibly shooting in anamorphic, which we ended up doing on the FS100 with the SLR Magic Anamorphot to try and give it a very cinematic look. And the lens, for the most part, was working great until it broke. I don't know what happened. We put it in the bag, and we took it back out of the bag, and for some reason, the lens was just completely out of alignment. The front and the rear element just wouldn't align, and we got this weird streaky image that we just couldn't fix. Just a little side note on that. I put up a photo of what happened to the lens on Instagram, and within a couple of hours, and I was still on set, they emailed me telling me that they would fix it up as soon as possible. They understood that I was on a shoot, and they sent over a UPS form, and it was done really, really quick. And when the lens came back, it was great in working order. That was pretty damn awesome. I've never had any service like that before, so that was pretty cool. Anyway, back to the lens issue. So thankfully, I had packed this little thing, which I call the Anamorphic Eye of Sauron, which is a ingenious little piece of really bullshit DIY. It's basically designed to fake the stretched anamorphic bokeh. It's basically just a filter, regular clear filter, and there's this bit here, which is basically a piece of black paper, which I've cut a little slit, like the Eye of Sauron, you see? And I didn't even glue this on, I just kind of squished it right in there. So you can see the edges are all frayed. And I'll explain the reason why I didn't, glue this on later. And what that basically does right there is turn the bokeh in the background kind of stretchy, faking the anamorphic look. And I'll just show you, because what I do is I use this on a 50 milli. So that's a 50 milli f1.8. On the shoot, I was actually using a 50 milli 1.4 Canon FD, but this will do to show how this works. So here's the reason why I haven't really glued it on. It's so that I can align it. I can just rotate this thing over around here like that and align it to dead center, so that the slit is going vertically downwards. So if I'm focusing, let me just focus on the camera in front of me. So there's the camera, and focus there. So if you look at the background, the second I rack focus it out, it just stretches upwards. It's pretty much faking the whole anamorphic bokeh look. Let's try it over here as well. See how I got that. Apologies for the shakiness. So pull focus behind. You notice that if you look at these picture frames, they just stretch upwards. So I mean, that is how I pretty much faked the bokeh, to try and give it more of a sense that it looked anamorphic. And it's a pretty simple hack. You know, if you want something that is a little bit more permanent, you know, you could just paint it on the filter, or maybe, you know, glue it on once you have it in position, or even put it behind. If you have, like, you know, this is with an adapter, you could probably put it inside the adapter and fake it that way. Of course, the effect works better when you have, like, lots of light and stuff in the background. First time I tried it out, it was with a 50 and a 35. When we were shooting 3 Doors of Horror, we were using a 50 a lot. And we were shooting in, like, dark areas like corridors or car parks, where there'd be, like, little bits of light and little things in the background which you would see to stretch out. There's also another thing that I did, though, and that was to tweak it a little bit in post. What I did was, in Vegas, I basically took that footage, cropped it to 235:1, and then bent the image ever so slightly, you know, just warped it slightly, just curved it a little bit outwards so that it kind of matched the anamorphic footage that we've been shooting, because anamorphic doesn't shoot a very flat image. It's got that weird curvature, which is one of the things I really love about it. And I got the idea for that actually from this wonderful resource called Vashi. He's this editor, and he came up with this little After Effects template called the Vashimorphic plugin. It basically did the same thing. So if you're in a Adobe workflow, I highly recommend downloading that, because it looks really cool. I actually tried it out in After Effects. I shot some footage with my little fake filter here, and I actually really liked the fact that it just gave it that little bend. Just that little bend, those little touches really kind of helped to give it that kind of filmic look. And one thing you'll notice from the footage that I did of test shots using the Vashimorphic plugin is that there are these weird little bits of what looks kind of like lens flare. Yeah, that is another little hack done with filters. Hopefully you can see. This lens has a bunch of little streaks going up and down like that. And what this does is pretty much kind of fakes a little bit of a horizontal flare streak. It's not perfect, because if you look at some of the footage, it kind of branches out in this weird way, but you can use it to kind of fake stuff pretty damn well. I'll show you. I'll give you an example of it right now. Although, because I was just testing it out, this is a really shitty filter. Hopefully you'll be able to see some of that there. There we go. Oopsie daisy. And then the thing is, you need to get this really straight, as straight as you can. Okay. When in doubt, use a torch. So I'll just put this over there. So if I just try this out there, there's the light, and little fake streaks. But if I focus it in a little bit more, you'll notice, like around there, it looks kind of cool. Then it gets over to here and it starts branching out like that. Because we're like, wee, oops, wee, kind of. And a lot of that, I'm pretty sure, is because of how I did this filter. Because if you look at it, it's done very roughly. Basically what I did was I took a blade. This was a shitty old lens filter that I really wasn't ever going to use. And I took a blade, like a Stanley blade, and I just started scratching. I got the idea from looking at some YouTube tutorials, and some people use sandpaper and they just rub it across that way. Other people, you know, they create streaks any kind of ways. Some people use a rubber band, not a rubber band, fishing line, and stretch it across, and that kind of gives that effect as well. I've actually seen in quite a few TV productions people using stuff like this, notably in, there's an episode of Sherlock, the one with the Hound of the Baskerville, and they're in the science lab, and I'm like, what's going on here? And it's pretty much a much more professional version of this. which you can buy. But you could also just make one yourself, because not everyone can afford an anamorphic lens. And if that's the aesthetic that you're kind of going for, there are ways to get around it and kind of cheat it. And there are little fun things to do as well, you know? I mean, if you got a old UV filter lying around, just try it out. See if you like it or not. And in the meantime, do look out for 3 Doors of Horror. The short film that I DP'd was called Delete, directed by Sidney Chan. Check out Doghouse73 Pictures on YouTube and follow them to find out more about the 3 Doors of Horror short films. And yeah, hope you guys like this episode. I'm so sorry if any of you were like, "Ooh, he's doing all these videos, let's subscribe," and then nothing happened. I've been seeing, you know, in my feed, a lot of people subscribing and leaving comments. I'm going to start replying to those comments as much as I can. But for now, I'd just like to say thank you so much for really digging the stuff that I posted before. And I'm so sorry it's taken this long to freaking do anything about it. So yeah. Ooh. Before I forget, if any of you are digging the shirt, shoot first, get permits later. I actually make these myself. I screen print them here in the hub. And yeah, if you're interested, check out facebook.com/createordie, and you can get yourself one of these tees. Very shameless plug.